Sacred Temples and Fragile Trust. Hello, I am Dr. Paul Stoller, and there are certain institutions in America that function like sacred temples. Harvard, Yale, major medical associations, civil liberties organizations, elite editorial boards. These are not just buildings. They are pillars of moral authority, and today one issue sits at the center of their unified consensus: gender ideology, particularly pediatric gender medicine. The question is not whether they support it. They do. The question is what happens if they are wrong. Institutional convergence. When nearly every elite institution aligns on a controversial issue, it creates an aura of inevitability. Medical associations endorse, lawyers litigate, professors publish, editors reinforce, and dissent begins to look fringe. But institutional convergence does not equal infallibility. History is filled with moments when consensus outran evidence. The early 20th century eugenics movement is one such example. It was not fringe. It was Ivy League. It was judicially endorsed. It was mainstream. Let's remove slogans and focus on medicine. When dealing with minors and irreversible medical interventions, 4 ethical principles matter: autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice. Can a minor meaningfully consent to permanent sterilization or fertility impairment? Is the long-term data robust? Are comorbid psychological conditions adequately assessed? Are we certain the benefits outweigh the risks? These are not hateful questions. They are medical questions. Several European nations, including Sweden, Finland, and the United Kingdom, have recently restricted pediatric medical transition. Why? Because long-term evidence is limited. Because regret is devastating. Because adolescent identity is fluid. Because caution is not cruelty. When historically progressive healthcare systems pause, it suggests uncertainty, not certainty. So why does American institutional alignment remain strong? It may not be conspiracy, it may be structural. Professional incentives reward alignment. Legal frameworks prioritize anti-discrimination protections. Cultural pressure discourages dissent. Institutions fear reputational damage. Moral urgency overrides long-term caution. Norms cascade. And once they cascade through elite institutions, reversal becomes dangerous, because reversal would mean admitting error. And error at this level would shake trust. The greatest risk is not disagreement. The greatest risk is fragility of trust. If it turns out that minors were fast-tracked into irreversible treatments, dissenting physicians were silenced, long-term outcomes were overstated, then the public will not just question gender medicine. They will question the temples, and once trust in medical institutions fractures, it does not return easily. It is possible to affirm dignity for individuals with gender dysphoria and still demand rigorous evidence. It is possible to protect vulnerable populations and still protect minors from premature medicalization. These positions are not mutually exclusive, but polarization has made them seem so. Institutions resist self-correction when identity is attached to a position. If gender medicine becomes symbolic of moral virtue itself, then questioning it feels like heresy. And sacred temples do not welcome heresy, but science requires it. Medicine requires it. A republic requires it. Direct address. Let me say this plainly. The future of institutional trust in America may hinge not on whether gender medicine is right or wrong, but on whether debate is allowed, on whether dissenting clinicians can speak without professional exile, on whether data is transparently examined, on whether caution is treated as compassion rather than cruelty. Because if institutions are perceived as ideological before empirical, the consequences will extend far beyond this issue. History shows that elites are most vulnerable when they believe themselves immune to correction. Sacred temples do not fall from external attack alone. They crumble when they refuse to examine their foundations. The question is not whether we can have this conversation. The question is whether we can have it honestly. Because when medicine becomes politicized, and politics becomes sacred, trust becomes fragile, and a nation built on trust cannot afford that fragility. Compassion requires evidence. Trust requires transparency.